Come on.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Fairway to Heaven, only on DSM Media. It's the second to last week of the season in the PGA Tour, the BMW Championship. As always, Phil Seifel here at Bearded Knowledge, joined by my partner in crime, Jason Sullivan, Jay Sully, 2121. And of course, coming back for his second appearance on the show, Huntman 10, Mr. Hunter himself. Welcome back.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. It's only been about a month since I've been on last time, so it's been quite a ride since then. So I appreciate you having me back on, and I'm pumped to talk about some playoff golf.
Yeah, playoff golf's great. I mean, so much crazy stuff happens in these playoffs. You just never know. I mean, we could start off by just saying that I officially have to retire the term fifth place Finau because Tony Finau actually won an event. That's how crazy the playoffs can be. Even Tony Finau can win a golf tournament.
The first place Finau hats will be available next week on the website if you want to check back.
Man, in the last month, Tony Finau and Abraham Ancer have won a golf tournament. That just blows my mind because there's that list of guys that we've talked about all season, if or when, and they've both done it. And even Xander winning the gold medal in the Olympics. These guys are guys that we've loved and talked about so much this year. And they finally are pulling through at the clutch moments of the season. What's that say about them?
That's a good point. I think that means like a guy like Corey Connors is going to win this week, right? It's got to be from left field or something like that.
I was going to say Scotty Scheffler, but
yeah, that's probably a better name to go with there. No, this is probably, obviously I was excited to be on the show to talk about this week with you guys, but Phil, I was almost more excited to hear about your thoughts about Tony. I know he's definitely let you down in the past. So, no, happy for Tony. I think, he's very liked on tour. You could even see that with his hug with John Rahm, who obviously slipped a little bit there at the end. So, really happy for him. I'm definitely interested to see if he can carry this forward. I've seen guys in the past, once they get a win or two under their belt, they use that motivation, and it's just lots of success from there. So, it'll be interesting to see.
Jason, is this just one-off win, or is Tony going to go on a run now? Maybe not this week, but, the start of next season. Does this set him up to maybe, I don't want to say be a favorite, but be a top 10 candidate to win a major or anything like that? Because winning a big event like last week, that could really snowball into some good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it does, honestly. It's almost like a big monkey off of his back. Like, we know he has the talent. In terms of talent in golf, he's top 10 for sure, maybe even top 5 in terms of all-around talent. The guy is just such a good player. And it just seemed like it was like the monkey off of his back. It's definitely a mental thing with him. So I could see him, like you said, probably not winning again this season, but I could see him, contending in the majors. I mean, he's really contended anyway in the majors. He just has never won one. So I could see him that coming soon too.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to not have to make fifth place Finau jokes anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, no, I'm a little disappointed in that. You ruined my joke, Tony. But yeah, anyway, so this week we roll into the second to last event. We're down to the top 70. Obviously, Patrick Reed, well wishes to the guy. He's not going to be there this week. Obviously, very sick. I'm not sure where he is in the FedEx Cup rankings and whether he's a sure thing to make it next week or not, if he's even healthy enough to play. But our well wishes. I know there's a lot of people that have mixed feelings on Patrick Reed. I love Patrick Reed. But we got the top 69 guys left in the FedEx Cup rankings. We're at the BMW Championship here. It's Caves Valley Golf Club in Baltimore, Maryland. And so little is known because they've never hosted a PGA Tour event. So makes, building lineups and making bets this week so difficult because there's so little information. There has been a couple senior tour events, a couple ladies events, and NCAA events, men's and women's. Two guys in the field actually won with Georgia, University of Georgia in 2005. Kevin Kisner and Chris Kirk were part of the winning team that year. I don't know if that really makes a difference. That was 16 years ago. But what do we think of this course and this tournament, Jason?
It's like you said, we don't know much. Before the show, we actually debated on if it was a par 72 or a par 71. So obviously, there's not a lot to know. We did figure out that it's a par 72, bent grass greens. It's going to be a super long course, but I was reading today that the fairways are going to be about 25 yards wide. So obviously, it's not too hard to hit the fairways. You're going to look at, obviously, bombers are going to come into play this week, but I don't 100% feel like you have to roster just bombers in your lineup. I feel like anybody can pretty much win at this course. It's going to be a scoring event, which we know the winning score should be around 20 under like last week. Last week we played a lot easier than we thought. This week might even be easier than that. So you're going to want scorers and people that can handle longer courses for sure.
So do you have anything to add to that, Hunter? Any other things that you're looking at with this course?
I think you'd be able to point. Like you said, there were quality events here in the past. Like you said, the U.S. Senior Opens, and I think there was a senior PGA championship here as well. The only thing that I really got out of that was that it was played at, I think the winning score was 18 under. So, if that's what the Senior Open is playing at, I think you're right on with the 20 under score there. So, it sounds like a.
No, we lost Hunter. Uh-oh. Hunter, get your connection back. We'll get you back in there as soon as you are. We lost you there for a second. Anyway, but like he's saying, the Bombers. So I was looking at the scorecard a little bit, and I love and now he's upside down. Now he's right side up. There you go. You're making me, get a little dizzy here there.
No, that's my bad. My phone's it's no story.
Yeah. Anyway, so where were you? I lost you there. So I was.
No, that's my bad. Like you were spot on with 20 underscore. I think that's a great target here. Like you said, Jason, I think driving distance will, obviously be an advantage like it will every week, but I think there's a lot of hazards around the course too, such as lots of tree areas, just penalizing areas such as sand bunkers. There's a little water here and there throughout the course. So I do think accuracy will play a little impact as well too. So, we'll see. Like you said, I think anyone can win here. It is interesting. Back in the summer when we last talked, a lot of those Midwest Birdie Fest were kind of weaker fields, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see how the top players score on a field like this. So, Phil, what kind of stats are you looking at this week? I know we talked about
driving distance, approach off the tee, the ones that we're all looking at. I also, thought ball striking, just straight ball striking is important. This week. I was looking at, more the fun aspect of the birdies are better, or the fact that these bombers are going to do really well this week. Some of the shorter par fours, it's just going to be fun to watch them because you got a lot of bombers in the field. There's going to be a lot of guys. If this is a birdie fest and you fall a couple strokes behind, a lot of these guys are going to be, really trying to, especially Bryson being in the field, is going to be trying to make up strokes on these shorter par fours. And there's some really, really gettable. I think I saw one par 5 that was only 516 yards on the scorecard. These are the kind of holes people like Bryson and the big hitters, they just feast on. So I'm not as focused on accuracy as you guys. I'm looking at approach, off the tee, driving distance. Birdies are better is always in any birdie fest. It's got to be in your model. And like I said, ball striking. I always put ball striking in everything I do. I want ball strikers. I want people that are going to hit the ball accurately. So I actually mixed it up a little bit this week. And I don't know. I mentioned it to Jason. I'll ask you, Hunter, because there's no course history and it's the playoffs. Okay. So I ran my model for the last 36 rounds. Okay. But then on the second, after I was done that, I ran the model again in just the last 12 rounds because I wanted some real true recency form from these players. And then I started my player pool by taking the 7 guys that fell in the top 10 in both the last 12 rounds and the last 36 rounds, because that shows some long-term consistency, but also playing really well right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's always a question that gets asked, especially to the experts, what, how many rounds should you look at? And it's definitely different for many guys, because some guys take, months off in between rounds. Some guys are playing, 8 tournaments in 2 months. So that for me is kind of tough. I do just like looking at the last 3 or 4 rounds, especially in the playoffs like this, where just about everybody has been playing in a lot of top tournaments. So I think you're spot on with that. Just looking at recent history, of course. I definitely would love to ask, what kind of course comps are you looking at? I've heard Quail Hollow a lot this week. Jason, are there any courses that come to your mind or anything that you've seen as well?
Yeah, I think Quail Hollow is the best course comp that I've seen for sure. I think it's going to play similar to that course a lot. So yeah, that's the best one. I didn't get super into anything else besides that, to be honest with you. I was kind of going along the same lines as you guys were with your stats and your recency bias. I normally go 50 rounds deep on my stats. I actually only went 24 this week, because I think more than anything, you're going to want guys in good recent form. So I do a lot more diving into other courses and course comps, but this week I actually didn't. And I was just more so focused on who's coming in good form and who's playing well.
That's all I focused on. Like literally, like I normally do 36 or 50 rounds for my, what I'm looking at, but 12 rounds, just keeping it so, so close to just the last couple tournaments. And it really, I think, gives you a good feel, especially when you look at comparing. So I'll just throw it out here. So my model, like I said, I did off the tee approach. I did a little bit on putting on bent grass. Driving distance was one of my biggest ones there. Birdies are better, ball striking. So all those things. So 7 guys finished in the top 10 in both models that I ran. Okay, the 12 round and the 36, and some of them, no surprise. John Rahm, obviously. Xander's played really well, but Jason Kokrak, Tony Finau, John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Xander, Justin Thomas, and Sam Burns. They are the 7 guys that finished in the top 10 in both models. And I was surprised Sam Burns was up there. And even Jason Kokrak, because missing the cut last week, I thought that may have dropped him out of the top 10 in the shorter term, but it did not. So, I'm really on board where I feel like starting your lineup with guys that are in that recent form is going to be super, super important.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. You always find that balance of I want to kind of pick, like Jason Kokrak is a perfect example. I love, looking at guys who might have missed the cut last week, but, maybe have been playing better long-term. Now, he hasn't really been too great the last 3 tournaments. So maybe he's not the greatest example, but I love jumping on guys that didn't quite burn me last week, but they burned almost everybody else, I feel like. So
yeah. They got to the course sooner than everybody else. Everybody else was still up there in New Jersey on Monday afternoon, late Monday, So if you missed the cut, it kind of gave you a smidge of an advantage if you got to the course right away.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect narrative I think we should definitely dive into for some of these guys. We'll probably get into them here in a little bit, but yeah, I think perfect narrative, because some guys, these guys are creatures of habit. They love playing their 4 rounds and then moving on to the next tournament and having enough time to prepare for it. So, yeah, like you said, I think guys who missed a cut or even took last week off have a slight advantage compared to everyone else.
So let's dive into the player pool, because it brings up a really good question. We've talked with the last couple of weeks with our guests, Rob and Detroit Dave, who do a great job with their new podcast. Their first episode was excellent. Shout out to them. So we've been talking about, the high-end guys a lot lately, especially last week, and now this week even more. It's the playoffs. The cream rises to the top in these kind of events. So how do you balance? I mean, I'm looking at the 10K and above range, okay? There's 7 names. Starts with John Rahm. You got Xander, you got Spieth, you got JT, DJ, Brooksy, and Colin Morikawa. How do you balance building a lineup when you want to use so many of those guys? And it's so tough to choose, because all those guys are capable of winning this week. Some more than others, but they're all capable of winning this week. So it's really hard. I built my player pool, and I try to keep 2 people maybe in that top tier, in my pool, because, you don't want to be going to the bottom way too much, But then this week I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 of the 7 guys in my player pool. So it makes it really hard building lineups when you have to use those top end guys.
Yeah, and that's where they're top end guys, right? They're definitely they're some of the toughest decisions that you have to make. In a no-cut event like this, I think that changes your strategy up a little bit. I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on no-cut versus cut. Obviously.
Well, it actually made me feel a little bit better this week. Where if I got a couple guys in the low 6K range that I like, they're going to be around the weekend, whether they're playing well or not. So all they need is one good round on Saturday or Sunday to pay off that value.
Yeah, Jason, what are your thoughts on no-cut events?
So I think typically in no-cut events, you're going to see a lot more stars in like really scrub lineups. Like I think people are going to try to get 1 or 2 of these really top-end guys in their lineups. I try to do the opposite sometimes in no-cut events. I try not to go too low because I know the first thing people are going to say is, okay, I got to get Rahm in my lineup. Okay, I'm going to dip way down. I'm going to go all the way down to 6,500 or whatever. I don't like to do that. I don't feel comfortable with those guys at that low typically for the most part. So I'll still try to stay – I might still play John Rahm, or I also like Justin Thomas a lot, but I try not to dip too low and try to do almost like 1 star and then the rest balanced to kind of be a little contrarian. What do you do?
I like doing the same thing. I think that is a little contrarian. I kind of think there's 2 routes to go this week. You start with Rahm at the top and kind of do that stars and scrubs build that you were talking about, just because I think Rahm is so much better. And we'll, like I said, we'll get into tiers here in a bit, but I do like doing the balanced approach too, just because I think it's a little contrarian. That 9K, the 8K range is just loaded with guys that can easily go out in top 5 this tournament, if not win it. I mean, look at Abe Answer, of course. So, it's loaded.
All right, so let's look at this. So again, Rahm's at 11.7, Colin Morikawa's at the bottom at 10K. There's 7 names there. Hunter, which one is your favorite if you could pick one favorite out of this group?
Yeah, so the easy answer is obviously John Rahm. You just pull up his box score on DraftKings, and it's just loaded with top 10 finishes.
Yeah.
Third, 7th, first at the U.S. Open. You see the 116th there, and you're like, where did that come from? He had COVID. He was going to win that tournament anyway. So
he was up by 7 or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
That's if you don't know golf and you look at that, you're like, oh, he missed a cut. No, he was winning that event. They should put like an asterisk there just so people know.
Yeah, no, I agree. So like I said, Rahm's the best decision. His price is high. I don't remember seeing a price that high. I think 11.5 is as high as it's gone recently. So, I do like Brooks quite a bit. I always bring up his name in these big events like this. He's always been in contention this year, especially in these big events. I think he was about 5% owned last week. I think his core round on Sunday too will maybe even keep him below 10% this week since it's a smaller field. So he just didn't putt well last week, in my opinion. So I think that could easily turn around this week. And at 10-2, I believe. It's a solid pivot. I think I still like Rahm better, but Brooks is a solid option. Yeah. Jason, what are your thoughts on this top end here?
So I completely agree with you on Rahm. He's the best player in the world right now, by far. He's played the best this entire summer. I don't think you can be wrong to go. I'm actually hoping that his price tag actually scares people away a little bit. I saw Fantasy National had him at 30% ownership earlier today, which scared me a little bit. But that number's down to about 21. So I hope that's the case. If that's the case, I'm okay with 21%. My favorite in this range, though, I think is actually Justin Thomas at 10.6. I feel like his game is just trending in the right direction. It's funny because I say he was in a slump for a long time this year, but he was coming into the FedEx Cup playoffs, he was 9th. So obviously he wasn't in that much of a slump, but he wasn't the same JT. And I feel like he's kind of picking it up a little bit. He's 6th in par scoring in this field, par 4 scoring in this field, which I think is really important. T4 last week. And more importantly, he gained off the tee and approach and putting last week, which normally he is a terrible putter. So if he can keep that going at all, I think he actually can win this week. So I like JT a lot at 10.6.
Yeah, I mean, I have JT. So I've done 22 lineups already. Normally, I don't do any of my lineups till after the show. I've done 22 lineups already. My 20 max entry, and then a couple little odds and ends. I've got Rahm in 5 of them. Okay, I've got JT in 5 of them. I've got Dustin Johnson, who I actually think that this course can play to his advantages a little bit in 5 of my lineups. But I got one more guy that's in more than that, and that's Xander. because Xander's quietly, the Olympics, I think kind of tweaked him a little bit. He's got a different mentality in my mind. And now I don't worry about him winning the big event. So I know he only finished 16th last week, but he's played great golf, obviously, this year. There's no doubt about it. He hasn't missed a cut since the PGA. So, I love Xander this week. I think he's a great play. I don't know what any of their ownership percentages are because I'm not actually worried about ownership percentages this week. In a 70-player field, 69-player field, there's going to be a lot of guys that are in that 18 to 22%, which is normally the top end of ownership percentages. That's not going to be because there's probably going to be a 25, a 28% own. Somebody like a Jason Kokrak or a Bryson might get some higher ownerships. So I'm not worried about ownership percentage as much this week. I'm just worried about the guys I feel have a chance to win, have a chance to contend, and I go from there. And I think all four of those big names can this week.
Yeah, no, I think you have a great point too with the ownership because when you first look at it this week, you'll probably be taken back because everyone's going to be inflated. But like you said, it's, only 69, I guess. Players in the field. It's definitely going to be.
It changes everything totally, in my opinion. It was the same thing with a few weeks ago with the St. Jude when there was a smaller field. You kind of have to. You have to think about ownership percentages, but you kind of have to. They're skewed a little bit this week because of the size of the field.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Morikawa? I think he's definitely the ultimate GPP play this week. I know we're just talking about ownership percentages, but I just think everyone's off of him. I'd love to maybe get a little more info on his injury if he does potentially have one. The reports that he's feeling a little bit better and he's working with his coach. We'll see, I guess, but he's definitely a riskier play in my opinion.
Yeah, I eliminated him because of the risk, which is a scary thing because he could easily, if he's healthy, go out and win this event. No doubt about it. But that's a big risk right there.
I think you're right, though. In terms of GPP, I think that's the ultimate GPP play, especially being at 10K. I think last week he was like 11-3 or something along those lines. So he's been playing so well. But the thing that scares me is that they said it was a back injury I was hearing. So I don't know, to what extent his back was injured. But he didn't look right last week in what I saw of him. So that scares me a little bit. But I think if you're going to toss him in a couple lineups and GPPs, I think he could pay off definitely.
Yeah, exactly. My concern is with backs. And if a guy withdraws, after the first round or after the second round, if he wants to protect himself for next week's Tour Championship, he may do that. So that's always, a super concern for me. People that know they've got that top 30 locked up, or even this week they got the top 70 locked up, that they take a week off, or they, like look at Louis Oosthuizen. He just took the week off last week. I know it was to be with his family
2 weeks.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks in a row. But he was already locked up to be in the top 70, so it was okay. Right. So if Morikawa's even 80%, he might not put his full go into it, and he might withdraw. Right. So that's something that worries me and kept him out of my – I could have put all 7 of those guys in my player pool. You had to take some out, and that was an easy way and an easy thought process to take him out, in my opinion.
Yep.
All right, so 9K range. You said the 8K range, Hunter, but we're going to go 9K because I love the 9K range too. You got Mr. Winner, first place Finau, leading the way. Oost is back. Yeah, Cam Smith killed me last week because I did a single game slate on Sunday and I had him as my anchor on that, and him losing that playoff kind of stunk. Rory, Bryson, who this course everybody's talking. I got on the 35-1. He's dropped to 20-1 in the odds now. Bryson, I can't believe I got him at 35-1. So, I love that. You got Cantlay, you got Victor Hovland, and you got Daniel Berger. Obviously, everybody knows I'm Team Bryson. Bryson's my number one guy here. Jason, are you going to roll with Finau some more, or are you going elsewhere in this range?
No, I'm not going to play Finau coming off his first win in 5 years. I love the guy, but I can't do it this week. I do like Cam Smith though in this range. I thought he played really excellent last week. Obviously, second place finish. He was 5th at the St. Jude too a couple weeks ago. He gained an approach, tee to green, and putting last week. So his pretty much all-around game was there. And I'm not 100% sure he can win, but I think he can definitely contend. So I like him a lot. And to be honest, I don't know how you don't play Louis this week. Just the way he's been playing this entire season, really, since the spring. I mean, He's 7th tee to green, 5th in approach, 1st in par 4 scoring over the last 24 rounds. So those are a lot of things that I'm looking for, and I feel like he's playing the best golf of his career at this point. So I think I'm going to roll with a lot of Louis at 96.
Gotcha. Do you agree with that, Hunter, on Louis and Tony and Cam, or are you going elsewhere?
Yeah, I love Louis this week. Top 5 player this year, like you were saying. He's coming in off some rest too, so that kind of fits that narrative that we were talking about. I think he has some motivation to go out and win these next couple of weeks and cash that big check. So I do like Louis this week as well. If we're talking about driving distance being an advantage, we have to talk about Bryson too. It's kind of an obvious. He's really been streaky, I guess we can say, these last few weeks. Even like in individual rounds, he's so up and down. So he's definitely a solid GPP play in my opinion. I really like Victor Hovland this week. I don't know if I ever tweeted this, but he's definitely my favorite golfer. I just love watching him play. He's always got a smile on his face, even when he screws up. Yep. So, I just love watching him play.
He's screwed me one too many times this year. He's not dead to me, but I just can't pick the right Hovland week. I just can't.
No, it's the worst. But he's definitely a great ball striker. And he was in contention through 3 rounds last week. He just had a really bad Sunday. So I wonder if that will cause people to maybe overlook him a little bit, especially with all these big names in this area. And I swear he's always really high owned, and that's when I tend to play him. So I'm going to try and play him when he's maybe a little overlooked here, and I think it might work out this week. So
I got 2 other names I want to talk about. Yep. So another name I like this week, quietly having a great season since his 4 missed cuts, is Patrick Cantlay. I think, again, he's a guy that, at 9,200, I don't think he gets enough love at 9,200. I think he could – you can make a case that he could be worth 96 or 9,800 easily with how he's played. But have you ever thought you'd see the day that Rory McIlroy would be 9,400 on a DraftKings slate? I mean, he's not on my player pool. He's not in my slate to even be a contender this week, which means he's going to win probably. But I just can't get over the fact that Rory McIlroy has fallen that far.
What's funny too is he's projected right now at 20% ownership. So I feel like I don't know how, to be honest with you, because he hasn't, like, the eye test he hasn't looked right. So I feel like people want him to be good more so than he actually is good. But I agree with you on the Cantlay call for sure. I feel like he's quietly heating up. A T11 last week, he gained in tee to green, around the green, a little bit in putting, which we know he's not a good putter. So if he gains it all in putting, that's good news. He's 4th in tee to green in the field, 4th in par 4 scoring over the last 24 rounds too. So I feel like in a range where you're going to see a lot of guys with high ownership, I like the Hovland call, and I also like Cantlay as guys that'll be around maybe 10, 11% owned. So I like both of those plays.
Yeah, I'm super high on Patrick Cantlay, and his putting's not his greatest feature, but lately it hasn't been that bad. I'm looking at the last 12 rounds. I mean, he's ranked in this field 6th in the last 12 rounds in putting.
Yeah.
So
recipe for success right there, I think.
Yeah, I mean that means he's been rolling it recently. So, where are you with that Rory thing?
I have Rory in my pool here right now. We talked about Quail Hollow being a comp course. I know it's hard to really have a course comp when we haven't really seen this one the way it's going to be played this weekend. But we could definitely argue that's probably one of Rory's best courses. So. I think he's a solid play, and you said he's just so cheap. Him and Bryson, seeing them under 9.5 is really surprising. But that's just shows how strong this field is.
Absolutely. He can, like I said, he could easily go out and win the event. It's Rory, one of the greatest of all time. It's just a switch has to be clicked. All right, 8K range here. I know you Hunter. You said you love this range here, so I'm going to throw it to you first. One of my favorite players this week, Sam Burns, is in this range. But you got Scotty Scheffler, you got Decky, you got Answer, Connors, Webb, English, Mr. Boring, Burns, Casey, Neiman, Sung Im, and so I mean, there's some good names. I'm just not as in love with this range this week as everybody else. So you can go with why you love it and who you like the best.
Yeah. So this 8K range and the lower 9K dude. The Hovland play for sure. But no, it's going to start with Scheffler for me at the top here at 8 and 9, I believe. He's just been so good in big tournaments recently. He kind of had a rough weekend last weekend. everyone was on him again. But he just lost strokes putting again as well, kind of like Brooks too. So I think that'll kind of turn around this week. Again, he's a big game hunter. So maybe, like we were saying, he's that one that's going to come out of left field and get that first win under his belt. So like I said, I do like Scheffler quite a bit. Harris English just seems to be a safe play to me. I know he's boring, but if boring gets you 8 top 10s this year, 2 wins, and I think 3 top 5s in the last 5. You can definitely sign me up for boring. He just gets a lot of birdies.
I'll throw a wrestling reference out there. You guys are too young. He's the Lance Storm of the professional golf tour. You guys probably don't even know who Lance Storm is. His gimmick was, "I am Mr. Personality. May I have your attention, please? I have something important to say." And that was his whole thing. So for older people watching, Lance Storm, Harris English, same dude. They've never been in the same place at the same time.
No, I like it. He's boring, but he can get a lot of birdies. He can shoot low. I don't know what his motivations are. Maybe, I don't know, Jay, you guys follow the Ryder Cup much? It's a little newer for me. I obviously, I obviously am a fan, but do you think he's really going to be trying? Do you think that's, in his eyes right now? Or obviously it's motivating.
I think he should be part of the Ryder Cup team already. I mean, he's got
I think he's in, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got multiple wins. He should. I know he's not in the points lead to make it, but they all get their captain's picks and stuff like that. There's no way you could build a team and not put him in it because, I agree. Mean, he's had way too good of a season.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I think he's a solid play. Who else do you guys like in this range? I don't want to take all the plays.
I'll let you talk about Burns because I like Burns too, but I like him. I like Corey Connors a lot this week.
Okay, I got one other sneaky one.
Okay. All right, I'll talk Burns. Okay, so 83, I like Burns a lot. One stat that surprised me about Burns is he's actually 9th in putting in this field over the last 24 rounds. So I don't know. He's always been a scorer, but I never pictured him as a putter. So the fact that he's putting this well, I like the way that he's coming into it. I like Corey Connors a lot this week too. T8 last week, T15 at the Open. He's just turned into a really solid golfer. Like we always knew, ball striking has always been there. It was the putting that was always kind of a problem. He's been putting okay recently, which is good for him. But in this field, I mean, he's 7th at tee to green, 6th in approach, and 9th in par 4 scoring. So I just feel like he's kind of got the game to contend. And I don't know if he can win, but I think he can definitely contend here. So I like him a lot. I agree with you on the English call. He's boring, he's safe, but he just gets it done left and right. So
he does get it done. All right, so I like Joakim Niemann this week as well. A guy at 8,100. I mean, he okay last week, 47th place. But I mean, this guy's played some excellent golf this year. Nobody even knows who he is outside of the diehards that are paying super close attention. The guy is really good off the tee. Where are my notes here on him? Really good off the tee, strong driving distance. He scores birdies. He's in the top 20 and birdies are better. I think this, if you think a guy like Bryson can do well, so can Joakim. It's a pretty much the same type of player, just without the fanfare. So, and at 8,100 versus 9,300, it's a big difference. Again, will he win? Probably not. But I could easily see Niemann being top 10, top 15 this week, and not even be like surprised by that number.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, it's just kind of leading me to this balanced build because if you start with Rahm at the top, it leaves you with, I think, 7.5 or a little under that left per player. And again, you can definitely make that work, but I just love all the birdie potential in this range. Abe Answer, another one, kind of a safe play. I think his accuracy will definitely keep him around all weekend. Paul Casey's another ball striker. He's been playing pretty well, most recently at the St. Jude. It just comes down to his putter. He gained over 1.5 strokes that week, and he finished top 5. He lost over a stroke putting this last week, and he just didn't have a good week. So it's always going to come down to his putter, but he is definitely a good ball striker. So, anyone else in this range here?
No, I only have 2 guys in my player pool in this, or 3. I got Niemann, I got Burns, and Niemann, Burns, and actually that's all I'm using from this range. Oh, and Scotty Scheffler. That's all I'm using. So I'm not even really heavy focused on this range, in my opinion, because I like the top end guys. I just spend a lot of time finding low 7K guys and 6K guys that I can convince myself to use in a no cut event so that I could play, a lot of Rahm and those guys at the top. So I stayed away from this range because it just doesn't fit in that build.
Yeah. I think that's really the two questions you got to ask. Are you going to go balanced, or are you going to choose a guy like Rahm or Xander at the top?
Yep. And like I said, I got six Xanders and 5 Rahms. Some of them with them combined in the same lineup. So, I doubled up on those guys. So, it doesn't give you many options. So that's where you get into the 7K and the 6K range. So, in this top end of the 7K range, you got Lowry, Russell Henley, Jason Kokrak, who I love this week, Noren, Bradley, which I know Jason loves, Sergio, Tringali, EVR. Did we not feel bad for EVR last week on that par 3? I
felt a little bad for him.
Oh, man, putting 2 straight balls in the water like that, and he was right there in the thick of that thing. And that just was a heartbreaker. They were talking about on the telecast before that. The guy was just coming into his own. He's starting to actually feel like he belongs, in the PGA Tour. And he goes and does that. That's a damn shame. So where are we looking in this range, guys? Like I said, Kokrak's my number 1 7K guy. I love Kokrak this week. I'm sure he's going to be really talky and high owned too.
Yeah, I feel like this range is really tough. You mentioned that I like Kevin Na. I actually despise Kevin Na as a golfer, but I like him this week in DFS. I've actually been kind of riding his hot streak recently. He was T8 last week, T2 at the Wyndham, so he's been playing really good. He's first in sand saves. There's a ton of bunkers on this course, so I like that. 8th in putting, 9th in par 4 scoring. So I feel like his stats line up really well. I thought he would be super chalk this week, and I'm seeing 9% right now. So if he's 9%, I'm going to own a lot.
What do you see for Kokrak on that list? Because I kind of feel like Kokrak should be in that 25% range, 22.
Kokrak, I'm seeing 15%.
Wow, that's even better. Man, I only put him in 7 of my lineups. Man, I better get myself some more Kokrak then.
He burned so many.
Yeah, I like Na a lot.
He burned. I had him in 7 or 8 lineups last week as well. But I'm not falling off. Now, if he burns me again this week, well, he can't because there's no cuts. So he can't burn me totally. So, so it makes you feel a little bit different when there's no cuts. So what do you like there, Hunter?
Yeah. You list off a couple of good ones. Kokrak definitely. Kevin Na, it's going to be tough to leave him out of the player pool. I agree with that. Russell Henley and Tringali, I think, are 2 safe, pretty cash plays, I guess we can say. They're definitely not going to go out there and win, but they're good birdie getters. They're good at approach as well. Henley's approach game is so good, top of the field here. I think his salary is pretty low compared to I think it's how good I think he can definitely be this week. I'm going to look at the way bottom of this range here and look at Charlie Hoffman. Definitely a major GPP play, so I don't suggest throwing him in all lines, but he had a great run earlier this spring, and his approach game was one of the best at that time. He had a bunch of top 20s during those couple of months and a couple of top 5s as well. And his stats from last week kind of remind me of that performance as well. So I'm going to look at Charlie Hoffman a little bit. He might be in my lineup, you guys, at the end here, at the end of the show, but we'll kind of see.
I love Charlie Hoffman every single week. He quietly had a resurgence. Everyone talked about Oosthuizen's resurgence this year. I know he's kind of quieted down for a little stretch this season, but the guy had a major resurgence. So I've used, especially when he's below that 7,500 range, Charlie Hoffman's a surefire play always, in my opinion. I like Cam Champ a little bit this week. Johnny Vegas. Let me see. Where's the rest of my 7K? Hoffman. And I got Keegan Bradley, who, what do we talk about Keegan? If he can get his putter rolling. Well, his putter's been pretty average lately, which is really good for Keegan Bradley. So there are the other names that I like in this range. Jason or Hunter, any thoughts on those names? Champ?
Yeah. I like Champ a lot this week and Vegas, to be honest with you. I feel like those guys on easy courses, obviously they're both bombers too, so I like both of them. And really interesting one for me, which I think is going to be overlooked this week, is Shane Lowry. 7,900, so he's at the top of the range, but he's been playing some really good golf. And typically his MO is always that he's good in wind and on tough courses. But he's kind of shown, I feel like, in the past 5, 6, 7 tournaments that he's pretty good on on any kind of course. He was T11 last week, T12 at the Open when it didn't play as tough as we thought it was going to play. So he's interesting to me. I think he might go under the radar a little bit, so I don't mind that play at all either. What are you guys' thoughts on Lowry?
Yeah, Lowry's a guy I play on tough courses or when the weather is going to be bad. And neither, they're not that's not this week, so I just kind of forgot about him. But you bring up some really good points about him.
Yeah, I agree with you, Phil. Definitely a tough course guy in my opinion. Not sure if he can shoot as low to contend, but he's definitely a cheaper option. So I have no issue with him.
So yeah, I mean, last week I had Hunter. I was texting with Jason, and I love my single game showdown slates. I'm a big fan of them. I've done really well with them, and I had a lineup in for Sunday, and obviously Sunday got postponed till Monday. And I was following the weather, and I saw how the weather was still going to be bad Monday morning, and they kept postponing it. So I actually deleted my entire lineup and put a new lineup in. And Shane Lowry was one of the first names I clicked because the course was going to be wet. It was still going to be windy. And, I mean, he did really well for a section of the day, and then he kind of fell apart. I was texting Jason. This is a side tangent. The love and the fun that DFS golf is, because halfway through the round on Monday, I was in second place. I didn't screenshot and put it on Twitter or anything like that. I didn't want to jinx myself. That an hour later, I'm in 12th place. And then by the end of it, I'm in the barely doubling up my money thing, finishing like 200.
Can I interrupt real quick? My kid wants to make his prediction for this week.
Oh yeah. See, this is
can I bring him in?
We got to get this kid, famous. All right. So who's your favorite? What's up, Jax? Jax,
who do you think's going to win this week?
Who's going to win?
Who do you think's going to win this week? Say it. Say Justin Thomas. He thinks Justin Thomas is
come on, Jax.
Can you say
JT?
Can you say JT?
JT.
Stage fright.
Yeah, stage fright. You never have problems talking to me off air.
Right.
Yeah. So Justin Thomas is his pick this week. He's picked Justin Thomas a lot.
He likes JT.
You better throw $5 down. Put $5 down on it.
Yeah. I don't know if I have him bet, but I do have JT in a lot of lineups. So yeah, he's not on my bet list. All right. Real quick, obviously a whole bunch of names in the 6K range. I've got a whole bunch in my player pool because I had to do it. But I would love to hear your guys' favorite play or two in this 6K range, if you even have any. Hunter, do you have any that you're really looking at here?
Yeah, so not too many, but I do have one that's going to be my by far my favorite, and that's going to be Sebastian Munoz. He's on a little bit of a hot streak recently, so ownership might be a little bit higher up on him. He's been gaining strokes off the tee in multiple events. He has a couple of top fives in the last 2 months as well. And he just performs well on Fazio courses, especially some of the comp courses that I was looking at, 2K's Valley. So I think he's going to be a great play. Again, a no-cut event, it makes me feel much better about him if he has one or two, maybe a back nine that's a little bit iffy. So he just gets a lot of birdies, and I think he's going to score a lot of points to get us up there on the leaderboard. So I do like Munoz a lot. I'll throw it to you, Jason. Any other names that you like in the 6K range?
Yeah, I agree with you on the Munoz call. That was one of my three for sure. Mackenzie Hughes, I just feel like he just is always around in big tournaments for whatever reason. Like is he going to win? No, but can he contend? Yes. And I feel like T27 last week, I would gladly take that again this week at that price range. So I like Mackenzie Hughes. I feel like he's pretty solid all the way around. And it's kind of sneaky play of the week. I think he's down at 63, either 62 or 6,300. Harry Higgs, he has 2 top 16s in the last 2 weeks. So I feel like that could be kind of sneaky too. His stats don't line up at all. I kind of pulled him up in the model, and they don't line up at all. But he just seems like he's playing pretty well lately. So don't hate that one.
So I got Munoz in a very out of all my 6K guys, I think he's my number one used guy in the 6K range. So I love that play. Some other names that I have in just a couple sprinkle out to balance it out. I love Keith Mitchell this week. Making a birdie on 17, 18, just to get into the weekend. He can carry that momentum, and he's one of those guys, especially in a no-cut event, he's not going to play himself out of the tournament, but he's also not going to play himself into the top 10. He's just going to be one of those consistent guys that makes a few birdies every round, scores a few points, plays really consistent golf. So I got him. I got Max Homa. I got Kaziri in a few. And so, again, Cam Davis in a few. So I'm rolling the dice this week. So last week, I forget who it was. I think it was Gary Woodland. I'm new to creating my own models. I always use everybody else's models and take information. Last week, I think it was Gary Woodland was really low in the dollar price range, but my model said to play him, and he actually played really well until Monday. So it paid off. So this week, the name that popped in my model that again does not have any consistency this year, but I feel like I have to roll with it. You have to trust your model and what it says is Ryan Palmer. He's 16th in my model at 6,400. So I threw him in 4 or 5 of my lineups. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on Ryan Palmer are.
Any thoughts, Jason?
Both of you are like, I don't know anything about Ryan
yeah.
Palmer.
So,
I mean, he's missed
I've been saying
his
this.
last 3 cuts.
Yeah, he's been playing terrible, but we've been saying this all season long. He fits the same kind of courses that Jon Rahm fits. Obviously, he's nowhere on the same planet as Jon Rahm in terms of talent, but they fit in similar courses together. So I didn't even think about him, to be honest with you, but I don't hate that. If we like Rahm so much, I don't hate playing Palmer.
I mean, Palmer, he's 35th in my thing on off the tee, 37th putting, 37th shots gained total, 22nd ball striking. They're not crazy great numbers, but in a no-cut event, I was a little worried about, I think it was Woodland that I had last week. I forget who it was. It didn't make sense, but it worked out. So I think I have to trust my, thing there. And if you neat 6K guys, if my model's right, Ryan Palmer's a guy that could be top 20, top 30 at the end of the week. And at 6,400, if you have Jon Rahm and then you put Ryan Palmer, 11-7, 64, both of them finish. Well, Rahm finishes in the top 5 like we expect. Ryan Palmer finishes 22nd, say. I think that's a good start to a lineup right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's all I got on my player pool. We're going to jump into building our lineups. Again, I am now on the 810th straight week of finishing in the last place in this 3-way contest. I'm going to be something like 400 before I win one of these. But Hunter, you get to build your lineup first since you're the guest on the show, the guest of honor.
Love it.
So, where are you going to build your 3-way competition lineup?
I love it. So if I recall from last time, I was completely caught off guard when you asked me to build this lineup.
No, that was the first week we did it then.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. I don't think I even submitted a single lineup before that, so it was perfect. So honestly, I think I'm more excited for this $2 contest than I am for almost.
You can do it for $1 now because I'm losing too much money. It's $1 each now, so it's even more exciting. You win $2.70.
Not a problem. So I'm going to start with Hovland. Like I said, he's my overall just number 1 favorite play this week. Just a ball striker, pretty hitter. Love that. Next, I'm going to go to Answer. He's just been doing well for me. Then I'm going to go to Munoz down at 67.
Okay.
And there we go. And then up at, I think 991, I'm going to go to Scheffler. Those are kind of my 4 guys.
Scheffler's 89, so.
Okay.
So even better, right?
So I think I should have about 8,300 left over.
Yep, you got 8,300, 2 spots to fill.
This is where I was getting between a 2v2. I was either going to go Louis or Charlie Hoffman, or I was going to play it a little safer and go English and who was the other one? Paul Casey. But I think, Jason, you talked me into Louis. I'm going to roll with the Louis side. So I'm going to go with Louis Oosthuizen and Charlie Hoffman.
You're taking Charlie Hoffman. Not that we can't have the same guys. We can, but ownership percentages are going to be really crazy if we both take it.
Yeah, no. Feel free to take that Munoz play, too.
I forgot to put it up on the screen. Oh, man. What am I doing? I'm failing in the second to last episode here.
Dude, I was going to say, is it your first show? Jeez.
Yeah, it's my first show. First time I've ever done this. There we go. There's his lineup, Scotty, Oost, and Hoffman to round it out. It's a solid lineup. I won't lie. Only 2 or 3 of those guys are guys I like this week. But, yeah. All right.
You can go next. You can go next, buddy.
I could go next. All right. Let me pull up my numbers here. I can't pull anybody that's not on my player pool because I'm not adding any names here. All right. So let's see here. Well, we're going to start with, like I said, guys that I got to trust my my thing. I'm going to start with Ryan Palmer. I'm going to start at the bottom just so I can go stars and scrubs. We'll go Ryan Palmer. Then we're going to go Xander. So top, bottom. And then we are going to go – where's my dollar numbers here? There they are. All right. So we are going to go Neiman next. We are going to go Bryson, my guy. Can never not pick Bryson if he's available. All right. So what's that leave me with? 75? Oh, man.
75.5.
Damn, that sucks. What am I doing to myself here? Oh, man. I screwed myself up big time. We're going to go Keith Mitchell, see what that leaves me with here. Keith Mitchell leaves me 86. All right, so that actually leaves me room for Sam Burns, doesn't it? Isn't he 83? Oh, man.
83, yeah.
Jackpot right there. I love it. I got Xander in, Bryson in, Sam Burns in. That is a winning lineup. So Ryan Palmer, Xander.
That is a winning lineup, he said.
Probably not, but the lineup destined to fail because it's this group. That's it. All my other lineups are great, but this one stinks, I'm sure.
You sure you don't want to throw? You sure you don't want to throw Harris English in there? You got a little extra money there.
Nope. I'll let Jason take it. Harris English if he wants it.
I probably will. I'm gonna go Mav McNeely, number 1 pick.
Man, has Maverick McNeely ever been the number 1 pick in anything in his life?
Probably at some point.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Kevin Na.
This is really a boring lineup.
I'm also gonna go Sam Burns.
Oh man, you always got a copy off me. The hell, can't you
All right,
come up
then
with your own thoughts?
I'm gonna go Justin Thomas.
Yeah, I do love Justin this week.
And then I'm gonna go with.
Left.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Harris English and Sunjay M.
We didn't really talk about him at all this week.
I like him quite a bit this week too. It's either between him or Casey for that other lineup there. I'll definitely run one of those. I'm in a different pool there. I like him a lot this week. He's been playing pretty well recently.
All right.
No Rom for us.
I'm sorry?
I thought about it.
Yeah, I thought about it too. But then I was already screwed with my dollars. And I just think throwing Rom in there. You know, the total last week I did a total stars and scrubs. I went 3 10K guys and then 3 low 6K guys, and it did not win me again another event. So, you know, we stayed off of that. All right, so we're going to get to our bets here. I've gone back to crazy. I got, 8, 9, 10, 11 bets already this week. Do you have any bets there, Hunter, already for this week?
I don't. I think I'm in a state where it's illegal, and I don't do too much of the betting. So I stick with DFS. If I had to, though, obviously getting that Bryson number in the 30s this week would have been really nice. But yeah, I'd probably.
I guess that's a good way. We can tell you the numbers that we got. You could tell us if they're good numbers to have on these guys. So, I mean, I've got 4 outrights. I got Bryson 35-1. I got Patrick Cantlay 25-1, Burns 55-1, and Kokrak 80-1. They're my 4 outright bets. And they're not necessarily all bets I made because I think they're going to win. I just think the value on the names and their potential of winning really, Kokrak and Burns and Bryson, all those guys, I think getting 80-1 or 35-1 on guys that could win is really, really outstanding.
Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to a lot of times, right? It's just finding that number that catches your eye and just the potential of it. So,
Gotcha.
Jason, what are your bets for the week?
So I only have 1 outright, and it's because I think he's going to win, and it's Justin Thomas 18-1. So I also bet quite a few.
So hold on, I got to interrupt you for a second. Is that because your son told you, or are you really feeding your son the information? I got to know if your son's making these decisions.
I feed my son the information, all right? He likes a few golfers, but I feed him information. No, that's because I like him. My top 20s this week are Burns, Sunjay M, Alex Noren, Harris English, and then I copied and decided to tail my man Rob. He is very insistent that Max Homa is a great play this week and that he's a lock for a top 10. So I also bet Max Homa top 10 this week.
Yeah, I don't have any top 10s. I got 4 top 20s. I got Bryson top 20. So I piggyback. So I think Bryson's a lock for top 20 this week, in my opinion. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind he finishes top 20. So I made that my bet on Bryson, but then I matched the bet at plus 100 on Bryson to finish in the top 20. So if he finishes top 20, I break even there. So it covers my outright bet. So I'm really confident there. Same thing with Kokrak. I mean, his top 20 number plus 230. Even if he doesn't win, I'm clearing money. I also bet Cam Champ at plus 250 in the top 20. And again, like I said, I'm rolling with the Ryan Palmer and the model. You know, he was plus 400 to finish top 20, so I threw a penny down there. And then you know I'm a sucker for the first round leaders, so I went with Bryson, Patrick Cantlay, and my long shot Kaziri at 130-1 to finish first round leader because I love it. That one hit one time. I've had 5 or 6 second place finishes for my first round leaders. I just need to hit it one time. Just one time. So they're my bets. That's what I got this week. Anything else you guys got to add to this BMW Championship before we wrap it up and get out of here?
I don't think so. It's definitely going to be fun to watch how these guys react from just playing yesterday and turning around and playing again on Thursday.
Yeah.
But I guess, that's just what they do. So
I think it's a great event because of the no-cut event, but it's also a playoff event. And who was it last year? Was it John Rahm or Dustin Johnson? Someone shot like a 78 in round one and then came back and finished in the top 2 or 3. Because of the no-cut, these stars are not going to have 2-3 bad rounds in a row. So they're never out of the event, especially if they have a slow start on Thursday. So I think it's exciting for that aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, I love the fact that I don't necessarily like the new format for next week that they've had now for the last year or two, but I love the playoffs, and I love the playoffs being a thing that I kind of thought when they first started the FedEx Cup playoffs, however long, what's that, 15, 20 years ago, I didn't think the players were going to buy into it. So, they really bought into it being important. So I really love it.
Yeah. And I mean,
is he ready to say JT on the screen?
He just ran into the room with my wife's underwear on his head and then ran back out of the room. So I got nothing.
You're tapped out for the show.
I don't know what to say. Yeah, I got nothing.
Oh my God. Something is seriously wrong in your household. Well, anyway, we got one episode from season 1 of Fairway to Heaven left next week. Obviously, same time, 9 p.m. We'll recap this week. We'll look at next week's event, the Tour Championship. And obviously, I think we're going to spend a few minutes looking ahead to 2022 and what 2022 means for some of these young up-and-comer golfers that are starting to win. So we're going to dive into that a little bit next week. But again, Hunter, thank you so much for coming on. You can follow him at Huntman10. Thanks so much for coming on again.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I love coming on to your show. You guys always rein me in with great compliments and stuff. You make me feel good, so I love that. And
yeah, it's all fake. I'm just trying to build your ego up a little bit for you.
No, you're good. No, looking forward to our friendly little competition this weekend.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sure.
And again, that's Jason Sullivan at jsully2121. I'm Phil Stifle, Beard of Knowledge. Make sure you follow DSM Media at DSM_media on Twitter, on Facebook. We're on YouTube, TikTok. We're everywhere. I don't even know all the different social media accounts. I don't have enough room to download them all on my phone. But make sure you're following them. A lot of great shows, a lot of great content, 8-9 shows a week. Jason and I have a fantasy football show starting in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, after this wraps up. So make sure you're following us. We've got a lot of great stuff coming on the horizon. And everybody have a great week, a great weekend. Enjoy the BMW Championship, and we'll see you next week, guys.